Thanks for joining us for Issues and Answers. I'm Ian Boyne. Today we speak to Omar Sweeney, who is the Managing Director of the Jamaica Social Investment Fund. But we will speak to him more particularly in his role as the Deputy Chairman of the Social Intervention Committee of the Zones of Special Operations, ZOSO, in Mount Salem. He serves under the Prime Minister, who is the chair, according to law, of the Social Intervention Committee. And we want to talk to Mr. Sweeney about the social intervention activities, the social investment taking place in Mount Salem. We want to see the kinds of impacts that this social intervention is already having and to see the direction in which it is going. We thank you so much for your company. Mr. Sweeney, thanks for coming in our studios to be with us. Your role as JCIF is to work with inner city communities across Jamaica, and therefore you already have substantial institutional knowledge about inner city communities. Therefore, your being deputy chairman recommends itself, it would seem. Tell us how your work as in JCIF would prepare you for this task on the Social Intervention Committee as coordinators.
Yes, well, thank you, Ian. The JCIF for the last 20 years have completed close to 1,800 projects in communities across the island. And these communities include several volatile and vulnerable communities. Now, currently, under our World Bank funded program, which is the single largest program in JCIF right now, we are in the 6 peri-urban areas of Jamaica: Kingston, St. Catherine, Maypen, Savlamar, Montego Bay, and Ocho Rios, where we're carrying out integrated community renewal and urbanization, crime prevention type interventions within these communities. And so we feel pleased. It's an incredible opportunity now to apply some of our best practices and methodologies, and these are internationally devised and tested methodologies that we are applying to use to support the ZOSO in terms of community redevelopment and citizen security and public safety initiatives.
And tell us about your coordinating work now. You are pulling together the social agencies. You are concentrating their work in a particular way in the ZOSO. Tell us about the importance of this coordinating function in Mount Salem. Actually,
that's good, because one of the key things that was pointed out by the Prime Minister, who is the chairman of the Social Intervention Committee, is that this will be an across-government response. And across-government means that all the agencies with the normal mandates and who are operating in these communities every day will now put the type of special coordinated focus on these communities, whether it's the physical environment, whether it is skills and educational development, whether it is social services. These agencies now will have a coordination of purpose to provide the type of intervention that will allow us to really matriculate out of the community in the whole period and certainly build going forward the type of safety and security that we need and see in so many communities. I say all the time, there's so many communities across Jamaica that operate like this every day without any type of intervention. And so now that you have a special focus in the Salem area, this is the type of thing we want to see when we leave these communities.
So tell us concretely, Omar, what are the kinds of things which have been done and are being done now?
Okay,
what are the agencies doing? And
so in Salem, for instance,
yes.
We identified 3 areas. There is the physical environment, which includes sanitation, utility regularization, and open sewers. Some road conditions, bushing of the land that's in there.
Areas where you don't have any street lights.
Street lighting. Those are in the physical space. Cleanup, national solid waste cleanup is area. We've also identified a strong youthful population there within the demographics, especially within the ages of 15 to 24 years old. A number of youth that are within the community that need to be attached to programs, whether it's a secondary school, vocational, tertiary, internships, jobs, right? They need to be attached to meaningful engagements that the state and themselves can track as their own personal human development. And then there's civil registration, birth certificates, passports, voters' IDs, driver's license. Having proper identification, which the most important aspect there is to ensure that the state, the government can provide services that are needed to redevelop this community and be able to trace and ensure that duplication is not existing and that persons are not falling within the gaps. So the civil registration is an important base strategy that we must use to flow everything going forward.
So getting the ID is not an imposition. It is something that benefits the individual.
Yes, and so many times we see it as an imposition.
Yeah, as a bother.
But what makes sense is that if we know who you are, we know your demographics, we know your personal situation, then we can better serve you and mobilize the type of agency. And if we can't mobilize the agency, then we're able to direct you to where the help may be. And so the identification and that collection of data of household surveys, a number of those things are done to ensure that we can best provide the services, because it's those services that are left within the community that allow people to solve their own problems and allow the community to ultimately, be uplifted.
So giving people IDs is not a pass law in the back door. It's not like their party system of pass law that people, need to have the ID to come into their own communities and to go out. It is really to empower.
Right, it is really to
people
empower.
And to make you as the state agencies know what the needs are. We're speaking to the deputy chair of the Social Intervention Committee in the ZOSO in Mount Salem, Omar Sweeney, who is also the managing director of the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, and he's telling us what is happening in terms of the social intervention in the ZOSO. We take a break, but we'll be right back.
It's the JIS Heritage Posters and Publications Sale. Come and get your posters and publications from now until October 30 at low, low prices. Packages include books, posters, brochures, Jamaican flags, and more. And if you spend over $1,500, you'll get a prize. For more information, contact the Jamaica Information Services Research and Publications Department by calling 926-359-024 or 926-374-026 or visit them at 58A Halfway Tree Road, Kingston 10. You may also contact our Montego Bay Regional Office by calling 952-6604 or visit them at the NHT Building, 42B2C Union Street, Montego Bay. Run come before them done. Posters and publications available while stocks last.
Welcome back. We're talking about the social intervention activities in Mount Salem, the first declared zone of special operations. The Deputy Chair of the Social Intervention Committee, Omar Sweeney, is here. He's also Managing Director of the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, which has done work all across Jamaica in inner city communities, giving the JSIF the kind of information that best suits the organization to play the role it is playing now. Omar, in your strategizing, what's the end game of all of this social investment? How would you want to leave Mount Salem? What should happen? What would be the criteria for success in terms of social intervention?
I tell you something, and this is not made up. This is real stories that you can go and see for yourself. When we leave a community that you enter, such as Salem, you want to come back and the community is almost empty in the daytime. Why? Because people are at jobs. You understand? There's good infrastructure. There's social cohesion within the community. And there is the type of, no zinc fence structures. There's lines of visibility where you can interact from your home to the street. And it's a concept that's founded in what we call crime prevention through environmental design. You create a situation, not only in the physical, but also you create the kind of community-based structures and organizations that police and monitor. There's strong relationships with the policing that happens in the area. There's easy communications, there's proper lighting. So when you leave the community, the persons know value that homestead, and others know who have a similar value actually move into the community because now it represents the ideals that they want. And so we believe that the foundation for that is there, right, as we enter. And so it is now the work to really build and structure that. And so the ZOSO is important because obviously there are some elements there that need to be dealt with. And I think once we have gotten the green light, what I wanted to say is that the groups or the agencies are working every day, doing their own assessments and developing their plans. We're meeting in different subsets almost every week. We're meeting not almost every week, where there's at least one meeting to deal with some subset of what has to be done once we are in the build and the hold and the build mode. And so I feel very confident that we will be able to now roll out a plan and give, and this plan is not in isolation of the community. With the community actors, with the CBOs, with the residents and the citizens, we'll be able to develop a plan that we can all walk to the same beat.
And the Prime Minister stated that one of the purposes of having a ZOSO is to decriminalize the area in a sustainable way. Yeah. You drive out the criminals and you keep them out. What would it be about the social intervention activities that would help to make that ZOSO area inhospitable to criminals and inhospitable to their return?
The way I like to look at that is it's not about keeping them out. The truth is that a vacuum has been created that has pulled them in.
So what I mean?
They're filling a vacuum.
Yes.
And what the state is doing is inserting themselves to fill the vacuum that has been filled by criminal elements, right? And so that would be another show, right? But the truth is that what the state has to do for communities and areas that are vulnerable, persons who are vulnerable, need relief. And so the state now has to insert the services and the relief that is needed for the vulnerable and push the vacuum in the reverse direction. That's what keeps out criminal elements and maladaptive behaviors. That's just international best practice. And so that is where that's our aim, that's our purpose. And I think that as you continue to watch how the ZOSO develops, whether we stay in this zone or there are other zones, and we're building the type of systems that would allow us to be dynamic and be able to move quickly now into other zones and carry out the same type of approach.
Is it one of the criteria of success that each person, especially the young cohort whom you mentioned, 15 to 24, that each person is attached to something? Is that one of the criteria you have set yourselves? It's
not, and you know, let me tell you, it is not only for Salem, right? It is for youth across the country. We have to engage our youth. We have to ensure that they're attached to something. Because that is how you know, if you're attached to one thing, it's difficult to be attached to many other things. Yes. And so we have to have a plan for them. And so we have a strategy, we have a focus on the youth. It's not to say that we're not, you know, the elderly and the disabled remain vulnerable. And so you have to have programs in place for that. But we have to ensure that the systems that are put in place, the school, the tertiary system, the training programs, the internships, those programs have to be working, and they have to be working well and be able to absorb because you know, for instance, that some persons were placed in jobs, right? Within the Montego Bay area, the customer service, the BPO sector, the hotel sector are all there with the absorptive capacity right now to take those jobs. And the thing is now we need to get the youth properly trained and attached to the programs that will allow them to matriculate.
So how do you help with the jobs? Would the BPO companies themselves come down there to prospect, or you would take up names, you would help to to refer them to companies? How,
Right.
how do you do that?
One of the things that happens with agencies like JSIF, supported by Heart Trust and some other third-party type providers, is that many of these youths are disadvantaged because the minute they say their address is Salem or retirement or Granville, then people become nervous. One of the things the government agencies can do is be the reference for that youth. So our programs, for example, is that we provide, once we put them into the training program and they are matriculated out of the program, we say to Burger King, we say to PriceSmart, we say to these agencies, Sandals, we are the reference. I know where this person lives, I know where they come from, I know what they've been trained in, and we are the reference. That's the government saying that, right? And and they can come into the program with the trust of knowing that their address will not be the inhibitor after they have invested their time and effort in the training program.
That's why the ID is important too.
That's why the ID is important. That's all we really ask on our side is for the ID. But they can know they have seen others in the community get the benefit of matriculating into sustainable jobs and engagements after they have gone through these state-provided programs. Many times, many of them now are trying on their own. There are several of them out there trying on their own, borrowing from relatives, trying to get into school. They matriculate and can't get a job because employers are looking on their address and where they come from for obvious reasons, or whatever the reason may be. And so what we really do now is trying to insert, again, I'm saying, those types of services and the type of reference and support to the youth that will enable them to really matriculate.
And there's another important point, finally, as we're running out of time, and that is that by the state actually thrusting these things in their faces, bringing the services here, that's different from somebody having to leave the community to check a heart place, to check somewhere to get trained. And you actually bring the agencies. You have a fear that they can come and they can know how to apply, how to get registered. That's a key.
On September 8th and 9th, when we had the fair down there, with literally 3 days notice, 3 days notice, persons accessed more than 1,400 individual services. Right? That's the level of demand that is there. And the numbers have been in the media in terms of the different things that they access. But I'm saying this wasn't planned months in advance. This 3 days notice. And especially in the area of health services, with the St. James Health Services, the dental services, vision services, persons were saying, but as far as we know, people are healthy. Well, that was the greatest demand, 600-700 services delivered.
Health.
Right? For health. Right? And so the need is there. The need is there, and we just have to really work more towards ensuring that the government, across government type response now, is mobile.
I know they're winding me down, but an important intangible is this building of trust. People now see the state as an instrument of their empowerment rather than an oppressor. And that's a significant.
It is significant, and I don't believe that people naturally, from my experience in communities, people don't naturally mistrust the state other than the fact that promises are made and not delivered. That's the area of mistrust. But outside of that, they generally believe that if the state delivers, they will get a good service.
Good. Thank you so much, Omar Sweeney, Deputy Chairman of the Social Intervention Committee in the ZOSO of Mount Salem and Managing Director of the Jamaica Social Investment Fund. We thank you for your company on Issues and Answers. Next week, I'll be back. Until then, Ian Bourne wishing you a very pleasant day.